Hello guys, welcome back. So in the previous video we have seen how to create a variable, how to initialize it, and how to perform some basic operations along with printing it in the console. So now in this video we are going to dig deep further, and we are going to see how and what are the different type of data available to us, and what are the operations that we can perform on them. So without any further ado, let's begin. So first of all, I'll go into the distraction-free mode, basically a full screen code editing mode. And here, this is the all the code from the last video. So what I'm going to do now is basically I'm going to delete these things. So we are going to see some more of the type of variables. So let me just remove everything. And here I will be creating a new variable. Let's say my number. Okay, so let me give it a value of 20 now. Sorry. All right, so now this is a valid statement. So let me just, okay, so now let me just create another value called var my new number, and let us give it a value of 10. Okay, let me just, all right, so now I have given this a value of 10. So what I am essentially doing is I'm defining a variable and then I'm defining it a value. So if you have any prior experience of coding in any other language, so you might have noticed that there is nothing that is defining what type of data that I am going to store. So what does that mean is, here I am defining a, I'm not defining its type. So its type is basically up to us. So whatever the first value that we are going to store is going to be the type of this variable. So for example, here I have given it a value of 20. That means that later on the Godot compiler knows that this particular variable is a integer. So it is going to hold any integer value that we are going to give it. So let's say that, let me just try it in the ready function, and over here I'll press in I'll type in the print statement, and here if I try to just sorry, my bad, just try to print this my number, and I'll press play. So right away you can see that my obviously my value is coming. So what happens if I try to change its type now once it is defined from here? So let's see that I type in the value, and now this time instead of replacing it with a value of integer, let us give a value of string. So let me just type in like this, and if I press play, so now you can see that the value got changed. Not only the value got changed, but the type also got replaced. So this here, over here, this was the type as int, and here when I replace that integer value with a string, so automatically Godot converted the type to the string value. So this is fine in many cases, but in many cases you would want the program to retain its type. So whatever the type that you are going to define for a variable, you want that type to be retained. So what we can do about that? So for example, let's say let me just remove these two variables. Let me just create a variable called age. Okay, so now the age variable is basically going to have a age of the user. Okay, so what we can do here is, if we want to force our program to store only integer value. Okay, so for example, let's say I given a age of 20. Okay, and over here I want to have it printed. So age is, and plus again I'll use the str function in order to convert this integer to a string. So I'll press play, and the age is 20 is coming, so that is fine. So what happens if I want to change it? So for example, if I say age, and here I'll type in some random string 20. Now I'll press play. So again, here the message is coming correct, okay? And even the value I have given 20. But just to remind you, this 20 and this 20 is not the same. This 20 is basically an integer, okay? And this 20 over here written in the double quotes is basically a string, and the value of the string is 20, okay? So this is a there is a huge difference between these two variables. So they are looking the same, but they are not the same in any way. So what we can do to prevent it is basically define my variable, and I will also define what is the type of data that this variable is going to hold. So how can I define it? So basically I can just give it a colon, and then I'll type in int. So now right away you can see that the initial statement that I had written, which was coming correct, now suddenly it is showing in red color, because now I have defined it a type of int, and now Godot knows that this particular variable is only going to hold a data type of integers. So it is not going, even though I have written 20, but still it is a string. So Godot will show you an error that, hey, this variable is only supposed to store a value of integer and not a string. So now if I just remove this from over here, so you can see right away my value is now correct. And if I just press Ctrl S to save, and if I reload the scene, so here you can see that age is 20 and the correct message is coming, and there is no errors. So now you can see that I have successfully defined a variable. I have also set its type, and then here I am doing operations on it. So as you can see that I have written int. So like that we get some other data types also, and by the way we call this as data type, okay? So what are the other data types? So let's say we have a variable called name, and it is going to store a name. So name is obviously going to be in a string format, so we can define that via this keyword string. So now this is a valid statement that the particular this name variable is going to be a type of string. Okay, let me just okay, so basically here I'm getting an error called member name redefined. So why I'm getting this error is because that this name is basically a default, since I'm extending this node base class. So in my node base class there is already a variable with the same like same name as name. Okay, so I cannot use name. Okay, so here instead I'll just use my name. So right away you can see that the error will go away. And this is also very important for you, because sometimes we get confused that even though you are following the structure and everything, still it is showing an error. So purposefully I showed you this error, because by any chance you should not use any reserved keyword which is there for the Godot engine own operation. All right, so now I have defined my second variable called my name with a type of string. So let us see what is the value that we can give it. So let's say my name equal to, if I, for example, if I try to give it a value of 10, so obviously it will show an error because this is a type of string. So I can only store string values. So let's say let me give it my name. So here I can store this one as like my name, sorry, and I'll just press plus, and here let me just remove this and I'll add this. So if I press play, so you can see right away Shashwat's age is 20. Okay, so like this I am basically able to print out a message, and I am able to concatenate more than one type of variables into one single string. Okay, now there is a third type as well called float. So basically in the value, I mean in the data type of int, we can store only numerical variables without any decimals. So for example, 10 is a valid number, 100, 1000 is a valid number. But what if I try to use something like this value, 1000.01? So what will happen now? I'll press Ctrl S and I'll hit play. Let's see. So again, okay, here my value is getting overwritten. So let me just comment this out by inserting a hash over there. Let me just replay that, and right away you can see Shashwat's age is 1000. So what happened to this dot 01? What is happening to this decimal value? So basically what is happening over here is I have defined this as a type of pure integer. Okay, so inside integer there is no place for the decimal values. So what if we want to store a decimal value data? So in that case, what we can do here is, let me just keep it a value of 20, and in that case let's say that let's say height. So we, to store a value of any number with the decimals, we have a type called float. Okay, so it stores basically the floating value, I mean the range, the in which we can define the decimal values. So for example, here I can come over here and let's say that in the height, let me just store a variable of, let's say, 150.232. Okay, so just a random value that I have taken, and here if I just want to print the height and hit my play button, so right away you can see that after the decimals also the values are coming, so it is not removing those type of values. Now, there is also a fourth type of data which is very important, and that is a type of bool, or else you can say boolean. So how we can define it is basically var is male. Let's say I have a variable called is male. Just to define it, we will set it a type of bool. Okay, so bool stand for booleans. And what are booleans? So basically booleans are a variable which holds only two value, either true or false. Okay, you cannot store any int value, you cannot store any string value in that, or any floating or any other type of value you can't store. You can store only two value, either true or false. Okay, so let's just uh, type in this is male, and let's see, I have not initialized it, and we'll hit on play, and right away you can see it is false. So by default, whenever you initialize a value of bool to any any variable, so it will have a default value of false. So what you can do is male equal to true. That's how you can initialize any value to a bool. And remember, here I am not putting any quotes or anything, it's just true or false. So even for this, if we want to define it as a false, so we can just have like this, false, and then we can hit play in order to see this value. So now why boolean is used? So basically in future videos we are going to see the conditional statements, and there boolean plays a very important role because it helps us to take some important decisions based on some state or some data. Okay, so this was it for the data types. In the next video we are going to see what are functions, how to create them, and how to pass parameters to any functions. So see you in the next video.